2010, Disney sold Power Rangers for about $43 million. 8 years later, the same franchise sold again for a reported $522 million. So Disney let go of something that went up in value more than 10 times over, in under a decade. And the mad part isn't that they sold it. It's that by 2010, they'd already tried to cancel the show twice and been talked out of it both times. And one of those times, the toy company had to help pay for the season. So what if Disney had kept Power Rangers? Not what if Disney loved it, they didn't. What if the company that was visibly trying to get rid of this thing had simply held on? Canon and receipts first. Then we guess, and I'll tell you exactly when we start. 3 registers said once so you can hold me to them. What happened? That's business record, and the numbers are pinned. Why it happened? That's motive. And where somebody's on the record, I'll say who. And the what if? That's me forecasting from Disney's documented behavior, which is the only honest way to do a business what if. I'm not going to invent a version of Disney that never existed. This is the bit that explains everything else. So we're doing it properly. Disney did not buy Power Rangers. Disney bought a television company, and Power Rangers was in the box. In 2001, Disney acquired Fox Family Worldwide. The headline value ran into the billions once you count the assumed debt. The deal closed in October, and the channel got rebranded ABC Family the following month. What Disney wanted was a cable channel with distribution. What Disney got along with it was the Saban library, a children's programming catalog reported at over 6,500 half-hours, with Power Rangers as one line item on the inventory. And the thing Disney actually wanted was already sliding. Fox Family's primetime household ratings had come down from an average of 1.3 in 1998 to about 0.7 by the middle of 2001. That's the asset. Halved. So the deal went badly. In the quarter after the acquisition, Disney booked roughly $300 million in merger charges, mostly writing off programming it had no intention of using. Published accounts describe it as one of the worst deals of Michael Eisner's time in charge, and describe it as having been driven by the strategic planning department without ABC being consulted. Admitted Gap said plainly, that characterization comes from published accounts, not from anybody at Disney owning it. Eisner has never publicly called it his biggest mistake. I looked specifically, and there's no such quote, so I'm not putting words in the man's mouth. Labeled reading, hours. Power Rangers spent 9 years as a souvenir from a purchase the company regretted. That's the whole Disney era in one sentence, and everything that follows makes sense once you accept it. That's the setup. A company that never chose this show, holding it anyway. Next is what Disney actually did with those 9 years, then the timeline where it never lets go. 30 videos, 30 days, and this one's about money rather than monsters.
Settle down. Take your seats, please. I'm Dr. Oliver, and this is first period science.
Now, credit where it's owed, because the fandom is unfair about this. Disney kept the show on air for 7 seasons. Ninja Storm in 2003, then Dino Thunder, SPD, Mystic Force, Operation Overdrive, Jungle Fury, and RPM in 2009. And it only happened because of a decision that gets sneered at and shouldn't. Disney had decided to cancel Power Rangers at the end of Wild Force. They were persuaded to continue when they were shown they could make it for a fraction of the previous cost by moving production to New Zealand. That's the Disney era's founding fact. It exists because somebody found a cheaper way to make it, and that move was permanent. Every one of their 7 seasons was shot in New Zealand, and the franchise stayed there for years afterwards. A cost-cutting measure taken to avoid a cancellation ended up defining what Power Rangers looked and sounded like for most of 2 decades. Different accents, different landscapes, different everything.
Do we need some kind of secret password or command?
All you have to do is say Dino Thunder, power up, and you'll be transformed.
Labeled opinion, and I'll defend it. Some of the best seasons this franchise has ever produced come out of that arrangement. Dino Thunder, SPD, RPM. That's a strong decade by any standard. Made by people working with less. But here's the record, and it's brutal. 1. Cancelled at Wild Force, saved by the New Zealand cost saving. 2. At some point in that era, according to the account from the era's final showrunner, an executive suggested they stop making original footage altogether and just dub the Japanese show. Think about what that means. Not make it cheaper, Stop making it. 3. Disney tried to cancel it again after Jungle Fury when the contract with Jetix in the UK was up. And the show survived because Jetix Europe and Bandai, the toy licensee, agreed to help fund the next season. The toy company paid to keep the show alive because it was going to keep making the toys either way. That's how RPM got made. Not because anyone at Disney wanted it, because there were contractual obligations left to fill. And Eddie Guzelian, who ran that season, said in a 2009 Q&A that the company acted ashamed to be producing it. His brief, in his own account, was to be ambitious, because there was nothing left to lose. Labeled reading, "That is not a company that fell out of love with the property. That's a company that spent most of a decade trying to put it down and being stopped by contracts." After RPM, Disney had 1 year left on the Bandai toy contract and no intention of making a new season. So they made the strangest thing in the franchise's history instead. In January 2010, ABC Kids started airing a reversion of the original Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. New logo, remastered picture, new effects, and comic book-style graphics slapped over the top. 32 episodes went out, and then it was pulled from the schedule. Fans compared the comic overlay to the 1966 Batman series, and they did not mean it kindly. That's what the last year of Disney's ownership looked like. Not a new show, a 15-year-old show with speech bubbles on it, made to satisfy a toy contract. And in May 2010, Saban bought the whole thing back, announced on the 12th, reported at around $43 million, including worldwide rights and more than 700 episodes, and it swept up VR Troopers and Masked Rider and Beetleborgs along with it. Admitted gap, and I want to be straight about it. I do not know whether that price reflects Disney being careless, or Disney deliberately writing off something it had already decided was worthless. Nobody involved has put that on the record, and I'm not going to guess at a boardroom I wasn't in. And this is the control group. This is the timeline we got, and you needed to judge the other one. Saban Brands took it to Nickelodeon. Power Rangers Samurai premiered in February 2011. The highest rated episode of that run pulled about 3.7 million viewers, and by 2012, the show was averaging around 2 million on the network. Saban Brands also did a deal that put Power Rangers on Netflix, which ran until it expired in 2021. Labeled opinion, that call did as much for the franchise's survival as any season did, because it's how a whole generation found the old episodes. Then in May 2018, Hasbro bought the franchise for a reported $522 million in cash and stock. Hasbro took the toy license off Bandai America and launched the Lightning Collection, aimed squarely at adults with disposable income and a shelf. And then the 30th anniversary special on Netflix in 2023, the one that gave us Robo Rita, and Cosmic Fury on Netflix in September of the same year. There was also a proper film. Saban Brands and Lionsgate put out the 2017 Power Rangers movie on a budget somewhere around $100 million. It took about $142 million worldwide, which sounds fine until you do the maths on marketing, and the sequels got canceled. Reporting at the time tied that failure directly to Saban deciding to sell to Hasbro. So, even the flop is load-bearing. No 2017 film, arguably no Hasbro deal. It hasn't all gone well, mind. The Netflix streaming deal expired in February 2021, and a Netflix rebirth, with Jenny Klein and Jonathan Entwistle attached, was canceled in June 2024. I'm not going to sell you a fairy tale, but that's the real timeline. Nickelodeon, Netflix, Hasbro, a collector line, a 30th anniversary, and a franchise that has not been off television for more than about a year at a stretch. Right. Hard line, and I mean it. Nothing past this point happened. Everything from here is me forecasting, and every single forecast is built on what Disney actually documentably did, because that's the only way to make a business what-if worth anything. May 2010. The buyback doesn't happen. Maybe Saban's offer is too low. Maybe somebody at Disney decides library assets shouldn't leave the building. Doesn't matter how. Disney keeps Power Rangers. Guessing, but tightly. The first thing that happens is nothing, because there was already nothing. Disney had made RPM under duress, run out the toy contract with a reversioned rerun, and had no next season in development. There's no evidence anywhere that a Disney Power Rangers Season 8 was being written. So in this timeline, 2011 arrives, and the franchise just doesn't come back. And here's the thing that makes me confident about the shape of this, even if I can't be confident about the details. Every single time Power Rangers survived under Disney, it survived because somebody outside Disney intervened. a cost saving that changed the maths. A European broadcaster and a toy company putting money in. A contract with time left on it. Remove Bandai's contractual obligation, which had just expired. And remove Jetix, which by 2009 had been folded into the new Disney XD channel. And you've removed both of the mechanisms that kept it alive. Labeled forecast, the show goes on a shelf. Not canceled with a press release, just quietly not renewed, which is how these things actually die. Still forecasting, and now I want to be genuinely fair to Disney, because the lazy version of this video says Disney bad and stops. Disney had a real strategy for boys action in 2009, and Power Rangers wasn't in it. In February 2009, Disney folded Toon Disney and the Jetix block into a brand new channel, Disney XD, built for exactly the audience Power Rangers serves. And 6 months later, in August 2009, Disney agreed to buy Marvel Entertainment for $4 billion. Sit with those two dates. In the same year Disney was being contractually forced to produce one last season of Power Rangers, it was spending $4 billion on a library of over 5,000 characters aimed at precisely the same demographic. Labeled reading, and this one I feel solid about. Power Rangers didn't lose an argument at Disney. It became redundant. Why fight a Japanese footage supply chain and a toy licensing deal for a boys action brand when you've just bought the biggest one on Earth? So my forecast for what a retained Power Rangers looks like, a library asset. Something the reversion treatment gets applied to occasionally. Reruns on Disney XD. Maybe a nostalgia push around the 20th anniversary in 2013, because Disney is very good at anniversaries. And no new seasons, because new seasons need a toy partner and a Sentai deal and a New Zealand production base. And none of those survive a franchise sitting idle.
Dinosaur might, ready to fight! Power Rangers, Dino Charge!
Still guessing, and this is the roll call. No Neo Saban era, no Samurai, no Megaforce, no Dino Charge, no Ninja Steel, no Beast Morphers. No Nickelodeon deal, so an entire generation of kids never has Power Rangers on the channel they actually watched. No Netflix deal in 2011, which is in my opinion, the single biggest loss on this list. Because that's the thing that turned the old seasons into something a curious 10-year-old could binge in 2015. Disney would have kept the library inside its own walls. Eventually, that means Disney Plus, which didn't launch until 2019. That's an 8-year gap where the back catalog is just gone. No Hasbro sale, obviously, because Disney doesn't sell. So no Lightning Collection, no adult collector line, and here's the knock-on people miss. No adult collector line means no commercial proof that the grown-up audience exists. The thing you're watching right now, this whole corner of the internet, is downstream of somebody deciding 30-somethings would pay 40 quid for a plastic Tommy. No 2017 film either, because that was a Saban Brands production with an outside studio, and Disney doesn't hand its properties to Lionsgate. And no anniversary special in 2023. And no Cosmic Fury. Labeled forecast, all of it. But every one of those things was made by an owner who wanted the franchise. And in this timeline, the owner spent 9 years trying not to have it. Now let me argue against myself properly, because I think there's a real case here, and I'd be cheating you if I skipped it. Disney is the best steward of old intellectual property on the planet. That's not a compliment, it's an observation. Nothing at Disney is ever truly dead. It gets shelved, and then 12 years later somebody decides it's time. So, the strongest version of the pro-Disney timeline goes like this. The show stops in 2010. It sits. Disney Plus launches in 2019 and needs volume, especially kids volume with a nostalgia hook. And a company with genuinely deep pockets decides to do Power Rangers properly, with a real budget, no Japanese footage constraint, and the Marvel Machine's production experience behind it. That's not a stupid outcome. It might even be a better show than anything we actually got. And there's a version of it that's better still. Disney owns Marvel, and Marvel has spent 15 years being extremely good at taking a silly premise seriously and hiring people who love it. Put the Power Rangers under that roof, with that budget and that casting department, and I can absolutely picture the show working. I'd watch it. I think a lot of you would too. Labeled opinion, I still don't want it. Because I'd be trading 15 straight years of Power Rangers existing, imperfectly on television, for one prestige revival and a decade of silence. And a franchise that stops for 10 years loses the thing this one runs on, which is that there's always a kid discovering it. So, the tally? Forecasts, argued from documented behavior. You gain a very rich owner, a possible high-budget revival on a streaming service, and no risk of the franchise being sold to somebody worse. You lose the Neo-Saban decade, the Nickelodeon years, the 2011 Netflix deal, the Hasbro sale, the Lightning Collection, the 30th anniversary, and probably about 10 years of the show simply being on. Labeled verdict, mine, and I've changed my mind writing this. Disney selling Power Rangers is the best thing that ever happened to Power Rangers, and it's got nothing to do with Disney being bad at it. They were fine at it. It's that they didn't want it. And a franchise like this one dies of indifference long before it dies of bad management. $43 million. That's what the whole thing was worth to the company that owned it in 2010, with the toy contract run out and the schedule empty. 8 years later, somebody paid more than $500 million for the same thing. The difference between those two numbers isn't the show. It's whether the person holding it wanted it. That's the tribe point, and I'll say it plainly. This franchise has spent 30 years being underestimated by people who owned it, and it kept going because the audience wouldn't let it stop. The algorithm reckons you'll click off anything longer than a sneeze. You're over a quarter of an hour into a video about a 2010 asset sale. Behave accordingly. Comments? 2 questions. 1. If Disney keeps it, does a big-budget Disney Plus Power Rangers ever actually get made? Or does it sit in the vault forever? Make the case. 2. The harder one. Name the single best thing the Disney era gave this franchise. I've got mine, and I want to see how many of you say the same season. Off you go. Right. That's the video. If you're new here, the deal on this channel is simple. Everything we say gets checked before it goes out. No invented drama, no cursed episode nonsense, no lying to you for a thumbnail. Just the stuff we actually grew up on, told properly, by someone who was there. We're doing 30 of these in 30 days at the minute, chasing 4,000 subscribers, and every single view counts more than you'd think. So if you've got a correction, or a memory from back then, put it in the comments. We read them. Half the ideas on this channel came from someone in there going, hang on, you missed one. And there's another video waiting on your screen right now. Go on then.